We do have an issue though. This trunk is made out of 2 pieces. Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to a brand new, very exciting episode from Backyard Boys. Once again, if you guys are new, lightly tap the subscribe button. If you guys do enjoy the content, smash that like button. I hope you guys enjoyed the previous episode on the BMW M6 and some tire slaying action in that video. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure to check that out. But in this episode, what we're gonna do is actually get the whole car mocked up prior to bodywork. So this is gonna have a rear bumper. By the end of this video, it's gonna be complete. The front bumper, everything's gonna be on. And before we do any of that though, we gotta fix a lot of the damage back here. So for example, this bracket damage here, it's gotta be fixed up. And then under here, we got some serious tub damage. You know, there's no reason to change that tub, and I'm pretty sure we can handle this and fix it all up and make it look OEM, watertight, sealed, and make it look perfect. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. What we're gonna do first thing is take apart everything from here and just start hammering. Start hammering it back into its proper shape, and then after that, knock down the seam sealer, get the welder out, weld everything up, and seam seal it back to OEM spec. Let's hop onto it. We are on a mission, and this mission is called Mission Save the Tub. This right here is much worse than I thought, but we'll tackle it. We got some hammers here. We got a little porta power over there. Some magical 2x4s. This sucker is gonna be looking perfect by the end of this, so don't doubt us. We got this. A little bit scared. You know how there's a saying that says, my eyes are scared, but my hands are doing it, you know? That's kind of the thing. You're looking at it, it looks scary, but you just start doing it, and you keep going and going and going and going. At the end of the day, you're like, oh wow, it's done. So that's what we're into right now. Let's get it. Alrighty guys, so we are pretty darn close to getting this thing welded up, and I want to go ahead and tell you guys this. It's not going to be perfect, you know, and we're fine with that because the other step that we have to do in order to make this perfect is cut out this tub and replace it, and it just logically wouldn't be financially, I guess it wouldn't be worth it. It would just be way too much work. We got to cut the rear body panel out, this one here, you know, kind of do the work we're doing on the RS5, but this is kind of good enough for us. We're gonna seam seal all this up. You know, it's gonna be 100% watertight. It's gonna be everything good. The chance of whatever, nobody really looks under here, you know. Yes, it sucks that it's not gonna be 100% OEM. Why? Is because there's so much crevices, you know, bends and corners and everything that, you know, as much as you glaze this, Bondos, do as much as you want, it's not gonna be perfect. Take a look at this, you know, it's just all wavy, all everything. We knocked out the majority of the damage, and the damage on this side here was actually much stronger, much harder impact than I thought. That exhaust really mangled it up, and I'm surprised that it came out looking like this. What we're gonna do is go ahead and weld this corner up here, and right after that, we're gonna seam seal underside of it, and we're gonna seam seal the top side of it to cover up not only some of the hammer hits, but also cover up any kind of areas that may be potentially water not tight. So make sure it's 100% watertight. I think by the end of this, once we get it all finished up, we can touch it up with a little bit of red paint, and it's gonna look pretty darn good. You guys will be surprised. Right after that, what we're gonna do is go ahead and test fit this rear bumper, make sure it fits up good. We're gonna fix the gap on this hood. Let me actually show you guys the gap on this hood. Come here.
Trunk.
Sorry, trunk, I meant trunk. So look at this. See how it's overlapping? The trunk is overlapping right here. Not too sure what's going on here. It looks like it just needs to be pushed back. Interesting where this impact came from in order to do this. You know, this here, I'm not, you know, if it was a steel hood or aluminum hood and that kind of impact, but this doesn't look too much of an impact because the under piece is fully good. So it's completely good. So I'm not sure. Well, we'll play with it, we'll get it figured out, we'll make sure it closes nice and good, and then make sure the gap to the bumper and the trunk is perfect. And guys, after that, it's bodywork and paint. Everything downhill to the completion. Basically the road to completion, the road to get it back to perfection. Let's continue working on this rear tub though, because it's been a little bit of a headache, but we're pretty close to being done. So right now we're knocking away the seam sealer from the places that we're gonna weld. When you start welding, the metal gets extremely hot. That seam sealer starts melting and leaking into your weld, and it's just nearly impossible to weld. So we're giving ourselves maybe an inch or so, maybe not, maybe more space, just so when we weld, we have enough time to weld everything up, make sure it's all nice and neat. And then we just picked up some seam sealer, so we're gonna go ahead and seam seal everything. We bought some red paint out of a can because it doesn't really matter here, and then we're gonna go ahead and also use some clear coat out of a can as well. That way the red paint will not peel up. We're just gonna spray it in there, just kind of like a protective layer, not just to get a gloss. Well, not to get a gloss, but to get a protective layer like I just explained. So if that makes any sense, because if the clear coat or if the base coat is on there just like that, you can scratch it with your nail and it'll come off. But the clear coat acts like a protective layer for it. So let's get this done. Okay. Okay. So I want to give you guys a little progress update. We are pretty darn near being finished. Right now what we got to do is actually cut out this little hole here. We do have the RS5 tub that is just basically just junk. So we're going to go ahead and make a piece out of this and put it up here. You know, the welds here are looking pretty decent. This weld here was just giving us the biggest issue in the world. I think why there's 3 layers there, 2 or 3 layers there, and I think between those layers there is grease. So as soon as I'm welding, that grease melts and gets into the bead of the weld, and it just makes the weld have like air pockets, and it just looks ugly. But I'm gonna go ahead and work through it some more, try to get it cleaned up more and more. But right now let's go ahead and make this piece and weld up this final little hole of this whole project we got back here going on. So let's get her done. Gotta do some measurements now and cut her out, slap her in there, should seal up nice. So we went ahead and fabbed up this little piece. It's not perfect, but it's gonna work. It fits quite nice in there actually, and it covers up just about everything enough to basically leave us a little bit of a seam where the weld is gonna fill in. So it looks like that. It looks pretty darn good. I'm happy with it. We're gonna go ahead and tack this sucker in, fix everything up, make it perfect, and then start welding it in all the way completely. After that, we're gonna grind things down with our belt file. And once we're done with that, we're gonna go ahead and use some seam sealer. Seam seal everything. Everything we see, literally seam seal from the inside as well, from outside, make it pretty. Once that seam seal is dried out, we're gonna go ahead and use undercoat everything to give it this texture. Look, once it's undercoated, we're gonna go ahead and paint it red on top and clear coat it. So we have a little bit of a procedure ahead of us, but that's kind of all of what I can think of to make it durable, to make it look as OEM, and to make it last. So let's get right into it. all sealed up now. It's looking really good. We're gonna use some undercoat right here just to get this kind of seam seal undercoat look. I think, well, here, I was trying to replicate that look right there. And that look right there is spray on seam sealer, and we don't really have access to that right now. I think undercoat, rubberized black undercoat would do just great. I remember using this in the shop for, you know, wheel wells and things like this. So we're gonna go ahead and knock this whole thing down black, all the spots where the seam sealer is, and then use some red paint. So let's go ahead. So guys, last time we worked on this, it was Friday. Now it is Monday. It's been a extremely hot weekend here in Seattle. It is just crazy. As you guys can see, I got a little buzz cut. Ooh, it's crazy. It's like 110 degrees, 105. I have no idea how people work in this kind of weather, but luckily we got some shade. What we're gonna do right now is go ahead and assemble this rebar back on, put it back on. We're gonna go ahead and put the rear bumper on, and we gotta set the gap for the trunk. Alongside with that, what we're gonna do is go ahead and assemble the front end, kind of mock it up. We did move over the gaps like I did speak about in the previous episode, so we got all that stuff done. We got the hood aligned. Now let's go ahead and toss on the front bumper, make sure that whole front end is dialed in pretty accurately, and we're gonna get a complete look of what this M6 looks like. I'm pretty darn excited. Let's get onto it. So we've came to a conclusion that the reason why this trunk, so basically the trunk is sitting lopsided. This side is higher and this side is like down. It's kind of awkward. And according to this here, you can tell that there was an impact directly up. Very interesting that there's no damage here or anywhere here. So I don't know how that happened. But what we're gonna do right now is go ahead and unscrew just this hinge here. And then we're gonna bend it, the hinge itself, down this way. We can't do it with the trunk on because it's kind of limiting our you know, movement. But once we get it unscrewed, we can just push that hinge down and see if that does anything. I hope it does, because I honestly looked everywhere and I'm not sure what's making this trunk sit so lopsided. But let's keep going. So I went ahead and moved this trunk up on this side. That means when it's laid down, it's further away from the body, which is what we're looking for, just to get a visual representation of what's going on and why was it not locking. So now it locks. As you guys can see, it locks now. And the gap on this side is actually not too shabby. So take a look at this gap. It's not bad. That's a really nice gap. But the issue we have here, as I quoted before, it's a little bit too high. Too high, and it still needs to go back. You know, according to the taillight, you can tell it needs to go back. And here it's just a bit too high still. So We're gonna go ahead and pull that hinge off and pry that hinge down, and that way just a little bit, give us some gap and give us some distance. So let's go ahead and do that. So that hinge movement, what we just did a lot. And if you look here, the gap is pretty good. We do have an issue though. This trunk is made out of two pieces. It's out of carbon composite or whatever fiberglass it's made out of. It ripped apart right here. This damaged it and it ripped apart. So you guys can see right there, you see the inner piece? Come take a look. You see that inner piece right there? The inner piece and the outer piece are unglued from each other. That's why the gap is not good and the trunk is sitting a little bit higher, which we're gonna get all that stuff sorted out in the bodywork episode. In the next episode, what we're gonna do right now is go ahead and loosen that hinge and try to cram it down just a little bit lower. That way, when we do glue it, it'll be sitting nice and flush. So let's get that figured out, give it one more shot. If not, then we're gonna be thinking of different ways to get it fixed up. So guys, take a look at this gap when I'm pushing this down. Look at this here, it's looking pretty, a little bit higher than it should be. I'm gonna go ahead and glue this and clamp this down as much as I can. That way we get, you know, the least amount of lift between the two panels here. And then take a look at the gap here alongside the tail light and alongside this rear tail light as well. It's looking really good. Look at that, boom. And now letting everything go, not much movement. Let's go on this side and take a look here. So this tail light is loose. It's got to be pushed down. This tail light is loose, got to be pushed down. There's a bolt missing. And now take a look at the gap here. Gets a little bit tight here, which is adjustable. But look at here, here, all the way through, nice and even. So that's a very good sign for us. Right now, let's go ahead and I guess quickly hop on the front end. And we did a little bit of minor adjustments. So let's slap that front bumper in and see what this complete beast looks like. It looks really funny right now with no exhaust. So that's something we'll figure out in the future. But actually just take a look at it. Step back and take a look at this exhaust setup. It looks super high in the rear. It looks kind of funky, but I'm liking this. It's a unique look. I think this M6 has a very unique look, but I like it. You know, I understand people that don't like it, and I for the longest time didn't like it, but it's kind of cool. It's got this very lanky, wide look. And once we get the carbon lips on it, the carbon diffuser or whatever we're gonna go with, is gonna be so sick. What a great wrap up to the day. We are all done with this episode, and take a look at this. We got 95% of the panels on besides the left side rocker panel, which is going to be repaired and pulled off either way for paint. So that's kind of whatever, that's whatever. But we still get the complete look of the car. The car is just gorgeous. It's so long, it's so fat, it's wide. You know, the front end gaps are mocked up. Once we get final assembly in, that's when everything matters. Right now it's just on, and I know I can set the gaps once it's all painted. Look at this. It's been a long ways, but we are finally here, making dreams a reality. Come take a look here, back here. We got the rear bumper on, and I don't know if you guys seen any of the videos on this car. If you guys are new to this channel, go check out the first video on this car. You guys will see that there was some serious damage over here. This bumper was pushed in what looked like serious. It was a pretty easy fix. But the rear tub, I do want to say this once again, yes, it is not 100% perfect. And I told you guys that earlier, but this is the best, most waterproof, most everything, and most efficient, time efficient, money efficient way we can do it for it to basically look and act as OEM as possible. That tub basically plays no role. There's only 2 computers or 3 computers mounted onto the inside of that. So we were fine with that, you know, we were fine with that. Yes, if you wanted to make it 100% perfect, you would change the tub. Would that be a lot more work, a lot more time, you know, a couple of months, weeks of waiting for the panel, who knows? But we're fine with it right now. It looks really darn good. It does really look good. You know, you can barely tell. The red actually matched up really darn well as well. Clear coat, make sure it doesn't leak, make sure nothing happens. So that's kind of the story back here. The rear end is complete now, it's super fat. In the next episode, we're gonna start repairing bodywork. We do have a little bit of complicated bodywork on this car because we have, first of all, fiberglass, something I've never worked with, and second of all, we have aluminum. If you guys remember, Rolls-Royce was aluminum. A couple of panels I did were aluminum, very annoying to work with. We have some pretty serious damage on the door here. This whole section of the door is pushed in, but we're gonna go ahead and leave all those kind of interesting things off for the next episode. I wanna go ahead and thank you guys so much for watching this episode, tuning in and staying to the very end. If you guys are still here, smash that like button. If you guys enjoy my content, smash that subscribe button. We do have a lot of very fun and interesting stuff coming for the channel, and hopefully we will acquire a shop soon. With all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out.